All right. Hello, Kathy. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are
Uh,
you?
I am doing great. So, my name is Jen Grace. I am the founder of Publisher Purpose, and I'm here with Kathy Eastwood today. And we are celebrating the launch of your new book, The E3 Leadership Code. And I'm so excited for this to be out in the world. And I'm hoping that you're feeling that excitement too, because we are like right in the launch window right now for you.
We are.
Yeah.
It's a lot happening.
Yeah, probably feels like an understatement. Mhm, mhm. Yes, and you've already had a number of events that have happened. You have a big global event that you're doing this coming Saturday. So like you are really just kind of like in the excitement and the throes of all of the goodness right now, which is fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've spent kind of the last couple of weeks really celebrating with friends and close family,
Mhm.
and just I like to have a good party, so this was a good excuse to get people together.
Yeah, yeah, truly, why not, right? So before we get into all of the details, I would love to just kind of have you share just a little bit kind of like who you are and what your background is, and then like a little bit about the book, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm Kathy Eastwood. I'm the CEO of E equals Y. I've had a really varied background, and sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle of things. But I started my career as a CPA.
Oh, wow.
And then realized that routine accounting was not my jam. So I moved into software and working in the tech world. I think I held almost every position in professional services, in sales, in R&D, in support, marketing. And my final role in tech was really a chief people officer. And so what I learned through all of those, being a chief of staff, chief people officer, being at the board levels, is any change that we want to drive always revolves around people.
Mhm.
And that's really where my passion is inspiring and enabling leaders to drive success by caring about their people.
Mhm.
And that is the book in a nutshell, where it's really intended to provide a system for leaders to remember what the basics are and do them over and over again. And that's the E3 Leadership Code.
Okay. All right. What I want to start with that first because now we need to know what the three E's are. So, yeah, share what that means and how it kind of shows up in practicality.
Sure. So the E3 Leadership Code starts with, I like to envision it as a three-legged stool. It's probably the best way to think about it. The legs of this stool are express plus engage plus execute, and those are the three E's. And the seat is the emotional qualities. So
Mm,
let me dig in a little bit on each one of them. So express is being able to identify the end goal. Where are we going? Why are we going there? What's the purpose? You and I talk about purpose all the time of being a powerful tool for leaders. And that's the first E, express the end vision and the why. The second E then is engage. So now you have a vision. Where are we going? Now you need to get everyone on board. Who are your stakeholders? Why do they care? What's their fear, uncertainty, and doubt? How do I communicate with them to get them on board? And that's the engage leg. We need to make sure we're getting all of the folks bought in because everyone communicates differently, everyone thinks differently. And the third leg is execute. So you can have the best vision, you can have everyone excited to be on board, but if you don't execute and if you don't deliver results, you're not going to succeed. And
mm,
so those three legs all need to be balanced
mhm,
and they stay together with the emotional qualities. So as a leader, we have to show up authentically. We need to be aware. We need to have integrity. We need to empower our people and really show up with empathy because that amplifies express, engage, and execute.
mhm.
When you do all of that right, that puts you at an advantage as a leader. And Jen, there's some numbers that really motivate me, when it comes to this. One is only 20% of people are engaged in their job. That
That's
means we're leaving
abysmal.
80% of productivity on the table,
Mhm.
and less than 30% of individuals, teams, and organizations actually accomplish results.
Wow.
And so it's like, well, what's that 30% doing?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is engaging their people,
Mhm.
making them feel good, getting them excited to work, and driving the results that businesses need.
Wow. And I like the way that you frame this because it's obviously not simple work to do, but just conceptually, you can wrap your head around this to be like, okay, I see how these things connect. And if I can just show up as myself as a strong, powerful leader, then I can kind of bring the people along with me in the direction that I want to lead them in.
You're spot on. And a lot of times, and I even say it in the book, leadership isn't complex, right? It's the basics: express, engage, execute, powered by emotions. If you just follow that day in and day out, you would have success.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do consistently when priorities are coming at you left and right, when you're having a bad day, you've got family you have to take care of, your boss is an idiot or whatever it might be. All of that pressure
Yeah.
forces us, or it causes us to not show up as the best version of ourselves.
Mhm.
And that was my intention here: is this isn't hard, but you just have to do the right things over and over again, and that's what's going to help you succeed.
Yeah. Of the 3 E's, do you find that, and I know that there's equal weight to all of them, otherwise the stool is not gonna work. Or is there one that tends to be the more difficult than the other, or others for folks?
It's a great question, and it really depends on the person.
Mm,
Right, there's some people, and you've met them, those creative folks that have the vision. They absolutely paint an amazing picture and you get excited about it,
mhm,
but then they're nowhere to be found when it comes to execution.
mhm.
Right, like you're lost. You're like, well, what do I need to do? Can you help me solve this problem? Can you remove an obstacle?
Yeah.
Then you have other leaders who are very micromanagement type. They're command and control. They're all
Mm,
about the execution,
yeah,
and just being creative and visionary is not natural.
yeah.
So we all have our own natural styles, and we fit into one of them, and it makes it easier.
Mhm,
And when stress comes in, we double down on that.
mhm,
I've found for myself, I have a lot of red energy. And I think you and I have talked about this. I
mhm,
run to the fire. I like to get things done. I like to
mm,
execute.
yeah,
That's my natural state. And when there is anything going on in my life that's chaotic, that's where I'm going.
mhm,
My family knows it. They sometimes call me bossy. They're like, oh, Kathy's just going to take control and she's going
yeah,
to take care of it. But that's where I know I need to double down on the emotional qualities to soften that
mhm,
and
mhm,
recognize that that's what's going to drive me. And I have to be really careful, because if I'm not, I'm going to alienate people. They're going to be frustrated. They're going to shut down. And so the real power as a leader is being aware
mhm,
of which one of those, 3 E's is your strongest. Where is your strength? And then where do you need to double down to make sure you have the balance across all of it?
yeah, and I like that you just described that because it makes it feel more tangible, where it's like, okay, where do I need to lean in and how do I need to be more self-aware? Because it sounds like so much of this helps bring up more self-awareness for folks.
Absolutely. And it's knowing yourself,
Mhm,
knowing how other people perceive you.
mhm,
It's like, I think I'm taking control and it's a good thing. My family does it, right? And my employees don't always see it that way.
yeah,
So to really understand how that's perceived,
mhm,
is not how you intend sometimes.
yeah,
So that's important. And then to recognize how different you may be, and then those you work with,
mhm,
right? So when you're communicating with other people, recognizing that that direct, straight talk could hurt people. It
mhm,
could, shut them down. So how do you then communicate the way they want to be
mhm.
communicated with, and adjusting accordingly?
Yeah, yeah, and if you are managing a lot of people, that's a lot of different communication variables that you have to pay attention to.
Yes,
Mhm,
absolutely. It's interesting. I had, and I talk about it in the book, is one of the bosses that really caused me to step away from corporate, rethink a lot of this, and then write the book.
mhm,
I refer to him as Voldemort,
mhm,
um, in the book. He was my toxic leader. But the more I thought about it, he was a command and control style.
mhm,
He didn't want to hear anything we brought to the table. He didn't care about the why. He just wanted to do it. And when I think about that, I don't think he intended to show up poorly.
mm,
But what he didn't recognize is 4 of the women on his team, 4 out of the 10 couldn't work in that environment
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all quit on the same day.
That's not good.
No, no, and you look at that and you go, "Wow, I know he no in bad intention. He wanted
Yeah.
to succeed, he was gonna get there, but it had a massive impact on
Mhm.
other individuals." And
Yeah.
that's what we have to be careful as leaders is we think we're doing a good job, but it may not land the way we intend.
Yeah. It's just communication in general, right? Like the way we say things, the way they're perceived, like it's not always aligned. And then you have to be comfortable in being called out or, like when it happens to then do the self-reflection to say, okay, where is my role in this and how can I do it differently next time?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things you wanna do is get your team to understand you. So
Mhm.
my team, I, lost my dad a couple years ago, and I thought I was showing up at work in a really good place. I thought, "Okay, now I'm ready for this. I'm gonna start." And what was happening is I was really, suppressing the feelings, the feminine
Mm,
side of, being a leader. And my team finally said to me, they're like, "Kath, this control thing, you got to back off." They
mm,
had given me a little bit of grace, after my dad died, but they finally said, "We can't keep going at this pace."
oh,
And it was such a gift that they could say that to me,
yeah. Yeah.
that they could come to me and say, "We love you. We know you
Yeah.
care, but
Yeah.
it's not working right now."
Mhm. Mhm.
But that took time to build that trust
Of course.
so they could say it.
Yeah, and especially if you have people who are coming from toxic work environments where saying anything of an opinion of any kind, let alone a criticism or a critique of the boss, I feel like that doesn't fly in most environments, and it should because it would make everybody better.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know, I believe feedback, sometimes we use that word and it's viewed so negatively.
Mm,
I love to reframe it as feed forward.
mm,
How do you help the reason I'm giving you this critique or this information or this
mhm,
um, is because I want you to do better.
mhm,
And by giving you this feed forward, here's what you can do to help me be better. Here's what you can do to help you be better. Here's what you can do. And when we think about it in the positive way, then suddenly you really look at it as a gift
mhm.
rather than, oh, you're just trying to batter me and make me feel bad.
Yeah.
No one wakes up with bad intent,
Yeah.
but we just need to reframe it and rethink that we all want to win.
Mhm. Mhm. And we all take different ways to get there. And so
Oh,
how can we coalesce? So with all of this backdrop, why put it in the form of the book, right? Because you've been doing this work for a while, right? So there's that part of it. And then also like why now? Like why was like now the time to actually put this into a book?
yeah, it's a good question. I think doing this work, you tend to get to meet someone and you talk about one thing and then you talk about the next thing. And in a perfect scenario, there's coaching and it's ongoing, but you're not able to get all of your thoughts across in one time. And I think also, I love to tell a story.
Mhm.
So a book was a way that I could combine telling a story about who I am, where I came from, the leaders that have been in my life that have influenced me, um, and then help leaders. My goal is to really eradicate bad management.
Mhm.
That's my purpose in life.
Yeah.
And again, I think we sometimes all show up in a negative way at times.
Mhm.
So I don't think everyone's a bad manager, but we might eke out. And so I just wanted it to be in one place that someone could pick it up and learn about awareness. How can I be more aware? How can I be a better person? And how can I lead in a way that's going to help elevate other people that are around me?
Mhm. Yeah. I love that. And we've been talking under the umbrella of leadership very and it is the E3 leadership code. So clearly leadership is in here. There might be an assumption that this is a business book specifically, and that is not true. So can we kind of elaborate on for those who might be tuning in or listening to us who are not in a role of business, how this might work for them?
This is something that when I left corporate, I stopped to think about that number of only less than 30%. In fact, one metric is 88% of people achieve their goals. And I'm thinking, yeah, like I've achieved a lot in my life. I've been very fortunate. I took a break and traveled through Asia for a year. I took a year off to really define my dream job. I had moved to England. And so a lot of things that I put my mind to something and I got it done. And I thought about what did I do differently?
Mhm.
And so that's built into this code as well, the personal way of getting something done. You need to have your own purpose and express why you exist. What do you love? Because every day you're doing something, there's priorities that come in, right, that distract us. And this book is a perfect example. I had to keep coming back to my why
Mhm.
every time I got off on a tangent.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you and the team were fabulous on helping me, but it was my why that
Mhm.
helped me keep saying, this is why I'm doing it.
Mhm.
And so, personal goals, this code works for that. Um, we were at one of the parties, and my friend Kim, who wrote the foreword, she's the CFO of Warner Brothers and in the NFL and GE, and she's sitting down, and she knew it was a business book primarily.
Mhm.
Because wait a minute, Kath, this is what I do when I'm managing the contractors on my house.
Mm.
Someone else was there. Oh my God, I need this to work with my board better.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I can use this to help in the family environment.
Mhm.
So it really is a repeatable system that we can use personally, in our friends and family circles and our communities that we're part of, and then obviously in the business environment as well.
Yeah, which I love because I think having a book that has like you have your primary audience, you have your secondary, tertiary, et cetera. But it's always nice when you can see something that can be so effective in the workplace, but then also like really help you flourish in other areas of your life. Because we're not just a manager at work, we're not just a leader at work. We are a whole human being that needs to be tended to.
I agree. And, one of the leaders that impacted me the most is my volleyball coach,
Oh, interesting.
right? And, by the way, coaching for over 50 years, still coaching, was
Wow.
at the book party, the first one. Um, and the stuff I learned on the court
Hmm.
is what still comes to fruition today. And she
Hmm.
taught us how to have mental toughness and extra effort, how to care about your teammates, how to have resilience, right? These are the things we learn throughout our life. We just have to remember to call upon it and use it and put it forth every day.
Yeah, and I think athletic endeavors are like the easiest example of what good leadership can look like because you can actually see if a team is performing or not performing or they're on the same page or they're communicating well. Like it's just such a visible, easy thing to kind of see for anybody, regardless of what sport it is. So I love
Absolutely.
that. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's so good. And so I know that you're having your global launch party on the 27th. So the 27th, June 27th is like the day that the book is out, which is 2 days from the time of this recording. And there's a special reason for that, which is partly the writing process and then also the date you wanted it published. So can we just kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Wow. It's just the emotion that came flooding in already. So, we talked about my coach being a big part of my influence. My father was a really big part of who I am. My dad started from the mailroom and worked his way up to being president of his company, an international global sales role. And he had the corner office in the World Trade Center. I used to go visit him in my little bow tie. Oh, I'm going to be the president of a company one day. I'm going to be just like my dad. And so on Saturday is his birthday. We lost my dad 2 years ago, and we thought it would be really special to celebrate his birthday and
Mhm.
honor him with the book. Because he taught not just me, but everyone he came across, you treat everyone with dignity and respect. And I just keep that in the back of my mind every single day. It sounds simple, but it's not always easy when you're having a bad day.
Mhm.
And so, my sister's going to actually be part of the launch party on Saturday and talk a little bit about it. Um, but those are the values, right? That's leadership. That is what we need to do as leaders, is to treat others well, help
Mhm.
them be the best version of themselves, and really show up, to care about others. And so that's why we picked the day. I started writing in earnest just after my dad died.
Mhm.
This idea in my head has been there for years, and I would talk to my dad about the different concepts. He was sick for a number of years. We took care of him, and unfortunately, he had dementia. So he couldn't quite have all the conversation back, but I'd be telling him about the ideas. Dad, I'm going to write about, how you have to express the end vision, and, how you have to treat people with dignity and respect. And
Mhm.
he could hear it, he could feel it, and he'd
Yeah.
just shake his head.
Mhm.
And so when he passed, I sat down, I said, that's it. No more excuses. It's time.
Mhm.
And so it's been, just about 2.5 years, not quite 2.5 years,
Mhm.
of the process of writing, editing, and publishing it.
Mhm. Which in the grand scheme of things is a very fast timeline. I think, it might feel very slow for you, or someone else might be listening and being like, wow, 2.5 years, it seems so long. In the grand scheme of things, that's a really quick turnaround to have done the whole process in that period of time. So, sometimes we need a life event to be the catalyst to help us just kind of see things differently. And the beauty of a book, like, this is your legacy, right? Like, there's something so powerful about having something that is a legacy that will live far beyond you, which I think is just really, really cool to think about.
Yeah, I love that. You're so caught up, sometimes you forget, but I will tell you. So I got one that I hold here,
Mhm,
right? But holding it that first time, I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of authors,
mhm,
but like, to see your name in print, it is a legacy.
mhm.
And one of the things I did, Jen, I think you'll appreciate this, is I had everyone that's been at some of the parties sign it.
Oh, it's
So I
such
have,
a cool idea.
yeah, so it's just, I haven't sat down to read all of the words yet, but it's been so amazing to have that as part of
Mhm,
it as well, because I've engaged the community,
mhm,
right? All the friends, the family, the colleagues. This book is not just mine,
mhm.
it's everybody that I've worked with for the last 30 years.
Yeah, it's like a yearbook, at the end of high school, when everyone's signing your thing. I never in all the years I've been doing this, I think you were the first person, to have done that, at least of the people that I know. Like, what a great idea to carry forward.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I didn't come up with it. I think it was my husband. He's like, "Oh, how cool would it be if everyone signed it?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Brilliant." So he's been
Yeah,
a big part of
because
this.
and then it has everyone else's energy that's tied to it too, and you can't, like, take that away. I just love having books that are signed by the author, just in general. I think there's something just magical about that. Now you flipped it, so it's, all the people who've been supporting you. Like, that's a really just something like I don't know, one of those keepsakes that you can't it's like irreplaceable almost.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I was at the parties. I love signing, right? This is
Mhm,
where, you've helped me be able to sell direct to
mhm,
people, and being able to sign it for individuals, to dedicate it to them. And then so as I'm signing, I'm like, "Oh, can you sign mine?" And they're like,
mhm.
"What do you
Yeah.
mean?" I'm like, "I
Yeah.
want you to be part of this." They're like,
Yeah.
"Yes."
Yeah. Yeah, because and it also I think that there's like a micro moment in here too of kind of practicing what you're preaching in a way too. Because like it's that inclusion of other people as part of that leadership that you're kind of like bringing people in and they're feeling like, oh yeah, I do have a role in this equation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
Because you can't do this alone, you know that, right? Like,
mhm,
this takes a
mhm.
huge community to help make it possible.
Yeah, yeah. And you've had a good community, so that's good. It helps because then you can be focused on what you're good at.
I try.
Mhm. Yeah, that's all we can do, right? Like that's all the best that we can all do is just show up and try to do better the next day.
Hmm.
And this book can help make that happen in many cases, which is fantastic. And I'm excited for it. And it looks great. I just this is my own personal question. E equals Y. When did you like how long have you had that name for your company?
Yeah, great question. It's actually been over 6 years. So when I had left corporate, I sat down to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. So it's kind of an interesting story. I had left Voldemort, the toxic leader, and knew at that point that I only wanted to work for leaders that wanted to drive change and cared about people.
Mhm.
So I went and the next role was that. That's when I was the chief people officer. When I left there, I had a choice. Do I go work for another company doing the same thing, or do I do this for a lot more companies? And that's been my passion, is to help executives really drive that change by caring about their people. And so I'm like, what do I name the company? First thing is my last name's Eastwood. So the E was, I'm like, oh, I should use the E somehow. I would love to have the legacy for my family be in that. So I started thinking about words and knowing what the system was, right? By that time, I had already known express, engage, execute in some shape or form and the emotional qualities. But when I was able to really put the nomenclature around it with the three E's, so it became E equals Y leaders succeed. So if you put that comma in after the
Mhm.
E's are what really help leaders succeed. So use the E3 leadership code, and you will be part of that small minority of people that deliver results consistently.
Mm. I love that. I love that it all connects because, sometimes like we start the name of something and then we fall into the connection points. Other times the connection points came first and then you have to have a name for it. So it's just always kind of interesting to see how those things emerge. I've had that question for the longest time. I don't know why I have not asked it sooner. So may as well today.
It's interesting. A couple of people have asked me recently, and I was just like, "Oh yeah," it's because it's nice to go back to the origins of the story.
Mhm.
Like, "Oh yeah, why did it?" Because you get so used to it,
Mhm.
and then to tell the story again. Uh,
Mhm.
I think one of the interesting things is, as much as I knew about the E3 leadership code, the name of the company, I remember trying to figure out the name of the book.
Mm.
What a challenge that is, right?
Mhm.
So it's been interesting.
Would you say that that was the challenge? Like that when you're like, if you look back at the process of the book, because Lord knows it's not an easy task. Was that like the thing that just feels like it was the hardest, or was there something else?
Um, there was probably there's two things that I can think of, and I know there's a couple more. Oh, three things. All right. First one was when I called you the first time and said I have 116,000 words.
Yeah, there was that
Remember that?
conversation. I sure do.
And I'm like, and you're like, yeah, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So bringing that down to something people will read was
Yep.
hard.
Yeah.
Reading it myself was
Mm,
actually really hard for me that first time I had to read it all the way through.
interesting.
Um, you
What do you
know,
think that was?
it's scary, I think, to
Mhm,
put yourself out there.
mhm,
This is the ultimate vulnerability of me sharing stories, right? Like this isn't a textbook.
mhm.
This is my
Yeah,
stories and putting them out there. And it's kind of like when you speak, you don't like how you sound when you hear your own voice. The same thing with, for me, writing something. So that was really hard. And then coming up with the title of the book, that was definitely a challenge.
yeah. Titles and subtitles are hard. Sometimes someone comes in, they have like the most amazing title and it's actually the subtitle, or that we spend round and round and round trying to like nail down the right words and the right promise and the right all the things that make someone pick it up and be like, this book's for me.
Yeah. Well, and
Mhm,
that's where I think your team with experience, knowledge really does help someone like me that, it sounds good to me,
mhm.
but it's amazing how it lands very differently with other people.
Yeah, and even once the book is out, everybody might be in consensus of like, this is perfect, the cover's perfect, the title's perfect, the subtitle's perfect, the description's perfect, and then someone will have some kind of comment
Okay.
that just like shakes us to be like, how did we miss it? It's like, wait a minute, like you can't please everybody, and if you're trying to please everybody, you will please nobody. So, I think that just having the confidence to be like, I am happy with this. I think it's solid. It's going to do what I want it to do. Because at the end of the day, it's not really what our opinions are about it. It's like, is it effective? Like that's really, the people will speak and
Yeah.
say if it's effective or not.
And my husband's been amazing because he just keeps reminding me. He's like, listen, if you miss something, that's the second book.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
he keeps setting me up for the second book. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? I think sometimes I have conversations with people at this phase and they're like, I will never do this again. And I'm like, well, I'll wait for you to prove me wrong. And then inevitably they come circling back around to be like, well, I am thinking about another one. I'm like, well, I'm here when you're ready. There's plenty of resources on this earth to help get you across the finish line.
Well, and I mean, I've not had kids myself, but I've talked to a lot of people now, and I think this is a lot like giving birth to a child.
Hmm.
And how many mothers say, not doing that again,
Hmm.
and then suddenly they're having another and another. So I
Yeah.
think it's very similar.
That's exactly it. You are at the go it's up you're through the birthing process. You're like, a couple day old. And then like it's a matter of nurturing it in different phases of its life too, right? Like how it looks now at the end of June 26 versus how it's going to look in June of 27 or June of 30. All of that's going to look different because it evolves, like which is another beautiful thing about books and the
Mhm.
legacy, right? Because it like the messaging evolves with us, which is, I think, just a benefit. Because like you said, like you love telling a good story, so it gives you an opportunity to kind of put all of it into one format for people to like really understand who you are and what you stand for, which I think is fantastic.
Yep.
Mm,
Great.
I love this. Is there anything that I should have asked you but did not, or anything any final things you want to pop in?
You know, it just landed with me, and I just want to share with others. Like, one of the questions someone asked me, why did I do this? And there was an old colleague of mine that had come to one of the parties and brought his daughter.
Hmm.
She's 12 years old.
Cute.
And she came and he's like, I want her to experience successful women, powerful women, to see what she can grow up and what opportunities she has. And, seeing her come all dressed, it was like me going to the office with my dad.
Hmm.
And this is what this is really meant to do, is really make sure that the younger generation doesn't ever have to deal with some of the crappy leaders
Hmm.
that we've had to deal with over the years. It was a constant reminder to me of why we do this, and we need to do better for the next generation.
I think that's the beautiful thing about these generations that are coming after us is beautiful because they are not tolerating things the way that my generation had to or your generation had to. Like, so I think that makes it harder for employers because they're not just going to be able to boss people around and have these toxic managers and toxic leaders. So I think, to me, it's exciting, even though it absolutely will be, I think, a little bit chaotic in the workplace for a while. So that'll be another potential book, is kind of managing what that looks like. But I think it's for the better. Like, there's no reason we should be miserable in our jobs. Like,
No.
that it takes up so much of our lives. Like, we shouldn't be miserable and feel that. I was actually on a conversation with somebody earlier today, and we're talking about a shared company that we know that she had worked for, and she's like, within 10 minutes of walking to the building, I would have a migraine. And
Ugh.
she's like, and that's when I knew I had to leave. And I'm like, the fact that just these cultures still exist is kind of a little bit crazy to me. But they're starting to shake out, I think, more and more by the day, and they're going to have no other choice because of these new generations coming in.
I agree, but it really is going to cause people to have to rethink how they show up.
Yeah.
And one of the things I talk about in the book is balance,
Hmm.
right? And it's about the masculine energy and the feminine energy,
Hmm.
being able to lead with the head and the heart.
Hmm.
So there's no one way, but we need to be able to balance and embrace all of that at the same time.
Hmm.
And, that's why we ended up coming up with the title, right? Of it being a human approach to high performance.
Yeah.
Because it's not a choice. I'm going to care about my people or deliver results. You deliver the results by taking care of your people.
Yeah. That is the key right there. Mm. Beautiful way to end us. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Oh, this was such a good conversation. I very much appreciate it. I appreciate the work that you're doing. And I'm going to put your website below. So it's kathyeastwood.com, Kathy with a K. And they can get access to your book and all the things that you're up to. And you have your LinkedIn show that you do. So like there's lots of ways to kind of engage and check you out. So and then your book is available wherever books are sold. So people can go check that out as well.
Excellent. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Kathy.